I thought we'd talk about this notion of the citizen, which is the starting point, if you like, of any kind of discussion about law and politics. Now, what is interesting is that we assume the givenness of the citizen within a constitutional, political, legal framework, and we assume that the citizen is a homogeneous entity which captures the existential reality of our being. But what happens if we problematize, if we ask questions of this notion of the citizen? Are we talking about a singular experience of being citizen in the world, or are there different kinds of citizens which the law treats differently? And that's one of the key areas that I'm concerned with, that I'm interested in. So let's take this figure. I'm going to draw a little picture for you. This figure is the citizen. And we say that law is concerned with him or her. And yet, a lot of our concern with social justice, a lot of our engagement with a critical approach to asking questions about the law and the nature of political society relates to our anxiety, our concern, our need to address the problems faced by another figure. And this is the abject or the excluded within society. A lot of our concern with law, and this you will find to be a constant theme within the Ideal HR program, is how do we engage the abject excluded figure within society in order for them to be to gain, let's say, access to legal services, or to gain the benefits of development, or to assert their rights, as some of the other videos that you might have watched will be talking about. The question then is this abject figure also the citizen that law is concerned with? Now, we will find that much of critical law relates to the abject, the so-called excluded. But there is a third figure that is seldom referred to within the sort of discussions on the theory of law and politics. And this, I think, is the transnational citizen, if you like, with license. Now, these characters aren't confined to states and territories. If you think that the citizen acquires rights and responsibilities within the bounded territory of the state, and you think that the abject excluded is one who suffers the consequences in many cases of being bounded, this transnational character roams the world free with license to engage in globalization, to engage in transnational trade and investment. They are very powerful, and yet there is very little theoretical or conceptual engagement with them within our conceptions of law and politics. Now, the question I ask, and sort of I'm concerned, well, I'm interested in, is in understanding how does law, international law, transnational law, global law, there are many sort of variants to the ways in which we talk about law nowadays, how does this idea of law relate to these three characters in the world as an existential reality? Are they all encompassed within the concern of law and in the notion of citizenship, the idea of rights and responsibilities, or does the law relate to these three figures differently? Now, if we assume that all three are encapsulated within our notion of citizen equally, then we have a certain approach to law, what I regard as quite abstract, unrealistic. If we regard the law as being defined by and operating in a way that in fact makes these distinctions, then a very different picture about law and politics emerges. And this is the kind of question that I think needs to be asked, and which will be asked if you turn up at Warwick someday, soon, I hope, and choose to do one of my modules.